Morning all. Well, actually, afternoon all. Got an old banger back down the farm today. Who remembers this? So if you don't know what this is, going back and look at some of the old videos, because this is Ollie's budget Z-Tech Turbo drag car. How much did we work out this cost you?
5 grand.
5 grand? 5 grand now in the last, what, 6-7 years?
Yeah.
About 6-7 years. So just to give you a quick run through of the spec, it's a silver top Z-Tech. It's got Mark 1 RS rods and pistons, come off eBay for about 80 quid. I homemade the exhaust manifold years ago and vowed to never make another one again. Rover turbo inlet. It's got a set of 870cc fuel injectors. It's on a BC gearbox with a paddle clutch that slips. It's on a KMS mk2 ECU. It's got a COSI fuel pump that we think's on its limits. And last time it was on the dyno, it made 180 horsepower thereabouts, but the turbo's flat out. So, for the keen-eyed of you, recognise this turbo. This is the turbo I took off my van to fit the Chinese turbo. I donated it to Ollie because I thought I can't sell it, it's a bit smoky, but it still made the numbers. So, what better car to put it on? Oh yeah. Finally. This is what this car's needed. What's your best time at pod?
11.0.
11.0. So it's done 11 flat with 280 horsepower, but when you looked at the power graph, it made loads of power, loads of torque low down, and then higher up in the rev range it made like no power with a small little, was it on a Sierra T3? Yeah, like Sierra Cosworth T3 turbo, so it made all the power down low and nothing flat out. Where this turbo with a big exhaust housing and a bigger compressor housing should move the power band up high. We only want about 300 horsepower, but he wants to move the power band near the top of the rev range, because when he's on the strip in 4th gear holding it out flat out, he says he just feels like it gets slower and slower and slower until he crosses the line. So basically move the power up. This turbo is obviously externally gated, so it's had an added on bit of pipe there onto the side of the collector. And Ollie's got a genuine, it's the most expensive thing you own, isn't it?
No.
On this car it is.
On this car.
Genuine tile 38mm wastegate. Check this out. So yeah, just plumbed it in, blocked off the 2 bottom air ones. Let's make sure that's right. Yeah, that's good. Right.
Sucking up my wastegate.
Yeah. So we can get that bolted on. And then I've got the old exhaust off my race car that happens to have the same V-band for the back of this turbo, and it fits well. So we're going to throw that turbo, that exhaust on that turbo straight up here, and then hopefully map it. And Dave's here. Dave started making my doors. Look, doors for my dyno cell. Can't really see them much. It's only the metal frame at the minute, but it's just enough for Ollie to pack it out with wood. But so this is going to be, because obviously the ramp's that side. So, and I don't use the ramp much, obviously I use the dyno, but I still want to be able to get on and off the ramp, and there's clearly not enough room here. So this wall or door is going to hinge like that, so I can lift the ramp up, swing that in there, and then I can get cars in and out. I'll probably even get in and out without moving the ramp. And then once that's back here, it's all a bit wobbly at the minute until it's all framed out properly, but he's just sort of tested it up to see what it's like. And then this one is like a massive bifold. Don't know if I can do this single-handedly. Let me plonk the camera down and I'll show you. Like this. Whoa. Ta-da! I like those stairs, they're a bit more. So obviously you've got to imagine it's all packed out with wood and like insulated, kind of like the rest of this wall's going to be when that's done. Just imagine that all around there. So once the car's in, shut that, lock that, that'll be blocked off. Make as much noise as I want without upsetting anyone. So yeah, awesome. Right, let's crack on with Ollie's car and get it on the dyno. Got a bit of a misfire, we need to put some plugs in it.
Yeah, there might be another issue.
What's the other issue?
No fuel.
No fuel in it?
I forgot.
Oh, for God's sake. Well, spin it round, back it on the dyno, and we'll fucking go and grab some fuel.
To be honest, it might actually be easy to pull the exhaust off and chuck it on the truck.
Why?
And we'll just put fuel in it like that.
Can do.
Yeah, it's got no fuck all fuel in it.
Is it not?
The gauge is literally in the red.
Is it? Oh. So the pump don't sound dry.
No, but he's probably only got like enough in
Dribbles in the bottom.
I was meant to say that on the way here, but I forgot.
Well, no point turning the exhaust off, just drive it up. Drive it up, strap it down. Leave the ramps here. There, dude. What a pleb. You right there, Ollie?
Yes.
Always remember to put fuel in the race car, especially before the dyno. Brum brum. So, just put some fuel in the old drag rat. Got back here to map it. I was like, what's that smell? It smells of fuel. What's that? Oh no. Why's the bed all wet? Tell you why the bed's all wet. There's fuel dripping out the pump. So, we'll put the ramps down as a makeshift ramp. Roll the car back and then Ollie can sort it out. Yay! Right, I'll open the unit. Where's my alarm fob? So, the last car we had on the dyno, old Jamie's Fiesta the other day, couldn't make no boost. Put Ollie's car on the dyno, it makes all the boost. Whoop, pop, 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 hits boost cut. And the screamer is, look, a nice bit of fuel in there, don't it? Eh? And an old KMS ECU, mate, I feel it feels well outdated using this stuff now. It doesn't even live save either. I make an adjustment. I feel like I'm mapping like Mega Squirt. Every adjustment you have to burn through ECU. So when you're on max, you just adjust it and go. But yeah, getting back to my original point, Ollie's making all the boost and the wastegate's not opening. So, rather than get carried away, we thought, when it cools down, because he doesn't want to touch it, we'll take the wastegate off and see what kind of springs he's got in it. How long ago did you put the springs in it? Years ago, wasn't it?
No, the other day.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to double check the old spring chart and take some springs out. You alright there?
Fucking hot, man.
See if we can get the boost pressure a bit lower. Going the right way though. Oh well. Right. Let's crack on. So, didn't really bore you with swapping springs, but Ollie stripped it all out and we just changed a load of springs, didn't we? Mm-hmm. So now it should make a bar if we're lucky. Anyway, time will tell. Let's crack it back on and crack on, eh? Yeah. So, did a few of them runs and it's worked out alright. Look at this. So 15 PSI here, we're making about 17 PSI boost now, and with that makes 186, that's wheel horsepower. We can change that. Let me stand you up here. He's going the right way. Control. Flywheel power. There we go. Look at that. 223 horsepower and 198 foot-pound of torque. But if you look at the old videos that we did of this car and see where the peak power was, you can now see it makes horsepower right near the rev limiter, which is just what Ollie needs for drag racing. And the torque now makes peak torque at 4.8 by the looks of it. 4.8, just after 4.8. Maybe near a 5,000 RPM, something like that, which is nice. So yeah, going in the right direction. Ollie's just plumbing the boost control back in now. So now we can hopefully ramp the boost up over wastegate pressure and make a bit more ponies. How much power do you want? Whatever it makes.
300.
300. So we can make 300 brake. We're going the right way. But it is on a Sierra Cosworth fuel pump, not even an 044. So hopefully that holds out. If not, then well, we'll have to see, won't we? Right.
If we run out of fuel.
If we run out of fuel, then we'll pull a PSI out of it and send it.
Whatever we run out first, fuel ahead.
Yeah. Fuel ahead. Sounds a bit weird, mate.
It's standard.
Yeah. Run out of fuel ahead, alright. Go. Okay, let's crack on. Right. So we are back to square one again. So basically, if you look at the graph, if we tee the external wastegate straight into the boost reference, we get this, which is about 16, 17 PSI, which is like, okay, great. If we plumb in the max solenoid, which is here, it fucking goes to the moon before it starts, you know, sort of leveling out. But that's with the solenoid off. So with the solenoid off, it's just a T. We've pressure tested it, it definitely doesn't leak. And we've changed the pipe, all the vac pipes to the wastegate. And if we plumb it in like this, it continuously makes that boost. As soon as we tee into it and put the back valve, N75 valve actually, as soon as we put the N75 valve in, bosh, straight to the fucking moon. So, we've tested the N75 valve and it works, and it doesn't leak. So we can only assume, because it tends to boost creep a little bit, so maybe where the wastegate's just coming straight off the side of the collector, it might not be ideal, but it should be fine like that. I can't see why it should be a problem. But we can only think that the where it's making like 16, 17 PSI, as soon as you put that T in, it just it gives too much of a restriction, and then that's what's making the boost creep up just a little bit more than we would like, basically. So, what have we done, Ollie?
Put a smaller spring in it.
So we've put an even smaller spring in it. So it was making 16, 17 PSI off the spring, even though the spring chart that we used said it should make about a bar. So it was over that. So now we've gone down to 12 PSI? Yeah, 11.8 PSI apparently. So hopefully, if I can now do a run now, it should make less boost than it's ever made. But then with the restriction of the N75 valve, the boost should creep up a little bit. And then if it does, then I can get the ECU to bleed even more boost into it. And then we've got control over it, rather than it just smacking over boost protection all the time. Little steps, little steps. This is the side of tuning that no one likes, which is getting the hardware correct. I'd say 90% of tuning is sorting out the hardware, isn't it? And the last 10% is actually doing the mapping when it all works. But yeah, right, let's crack on. Actually, let's let Ollie crack on. I'm just going to stand here and watch. Getting a bit late, isn't it? It's time. Right. So basically, the last run, put a little bit more boost into it and a little tiny bit of ignition, and it made 298 horsepower and 264.1 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if you go back, oh man, I hate standing there looking at this screen. This one's better. So if you go back and watch the old video, you see it makes power really low. Now it makes a lot. I mean, look at that horsepower. Look, it makes peak horsepower right up near the limiter. So it's going to be so much better for drag racing, and it makes peak torque at about 5,500, something like that, around there. It's making peak torque, so that is going to be a perfect setup for drag racing. When he had the old turbo on it, and it used to just punch in and make all the power and all the torque, his clutch used to slip on the strip, but it'd only slip when it made peak torque. So I'm thinking or hoping now, because it's only on a BC box and it's only on a, what is it, Helix clutch, isn't it? AP4 paddle. Well, that must be bedded in well now. It's been in there for years. So I think on the strip now, because it makes power and torque so higher up and a lot more progressively rather than just one big punch, I think that it won't slip. That's what I'm going to say. I mean, it only ever made 280 horsepower, didn't it? Now it makes 298 horsepower. The one thing I did notice though, because it's on a Cosy fuel pump, I've left it a bit rich. Ah, that's well hot. I've left it a little bit on the rich side of things, purely for the fact that when he runs it a pod, he takes his exhaust off and just puts a straight pipe on it. Now, on the last turbo, we can't run it on the dyno like that because it's too loud and we'll upset the neighbours. But on the last turbo, when we run this exhaust and took it off, it gained 20 horsepower. I don't think it's going to gain as much this time because it's also got a 38mm screamer, so the exhaust is 38mm bigger on top of this full 3-inch system. So in theory, if he takes that off, the fueling shouldn't change too much. But because it's on a KMS, we can't log with it. We haven't got a Lambda controller connected, so we have to rely on the dyno. So on the last run, when I put like another 2 psi boost through it, it went from. Well, we have got an old school Lambda controller. Look at that. Mate, that should have gone down with the Titanic, that thing, shouldn't it?
It's not on the car.
So, yeah, but that still don't log.
Nope.
Yeah, it's that Lambda trip though. Maybe we should fit it. We'll fit it and set it up. It's not like if you get a Lambda bump, we can plug it all in.
It's got all these wires though.
Yeah, I know, we can wire that up. That's not going to take too much problem.
It's got live and
an earth and like an ignition.
You've got to plug this into the ECU.
And then it works and select it in the software. But yeah, KMS is like very, very outdated now, but it clearly still does the trick on this car. And this is like a retro drag car in my eyes now. Yeah. So I feel bad about changing too much of it. But yeah, so we're hoping when we put this.
First time it's been changed in 5 years.
Yes, it's always been 280 brake on a Cosy T3, and it's always done 11 flats or 11.2.
11 flat is my fastest.
Yeah, fastest is 11 flat.
It did consistent 11.2s.
Yeah, yeah. So now you should break a 10 in theory. This car weighs. What does this weigh?
750 kilos.
This car weighs 750 kilograms. That with or without a driver though? Without the driver. So what, 2 ton were you?
Yeah. Free.
So yeah, with the straight exhaust on it, hopefully it'll make a little bit more. It should go over 300 horsepower. That's well over 300 horsepower all day long. But what I did notice on the last run, with 2 more psi, I set like the AFR to like I mapped it to about 11, 10, 9, 11 AFR, which is a little bit too rich. But one, he drives like a freaking animal, and he's just got no remorse. So I want to keep it as safe as I can.
Mechanical symptom.
Exactly. And secondly is well, secondly, it's got standard, obviously Mark 1 Focus RS pistons. Don't get me wrong, obviously they're fine. Like people have run them at like 350 horsepower. So they should be well fine at like 300, 330. But just to be on the safe side, I've left it at like 10.9 at the limiter, so that when he does change the exhaust, if it does lean out a little bit, it only jumps into the 11s. But when I put 2 more psi boost through it, it did lean out to like 11.2, which, going by the way the map looks, it shouldn't have done that. So I'm pretty sure the standard Cosy fuel pump is well on its limit, which everyone says they do about 280 horsepower, so up to 300, that's about right really. So yeah, all in all, a good day when we finally dialed it in and put smaller springs everywhere. You right, Dan? What do you think of my doors? Bit wibbly wobbly, I get that. Shall I my extraction?
We'll actually start putting like loud cars in here.
I know. Once that door's done, we can do loud cars and that door actually. And some extraction, please, before I die. Every time I go home, I've got a headache. It is you. It's all you, mate. It's all you.
Decide how you want it.
Yeah, I know. I can't actually. If we could just suck the gases out this cell to start with,
even if we,
even if well,
exhaust is basic forward.
but I mean, even if we suck the gases out the cell, just blow it over the wall next door. Because every time I'm here mapping, next door's not here.
When I was standing there filming,
yeah.
It was worse than when I stood next where you are now filming.
Oh really? Yeah, it's because that fan was sucking all the gases and blowing it over there.
It's now not a down pipe, it's a forward pipe.
Yeah, it's up pipe, isn't it?
Up and forward.
Get lose power on the strip because it inhale.
Yeah. You'd get a higher exhaust restriction the faster you go. Cool. Yeah, I know. Once Ollie's finished doing the doors, we can have some real fun. Ollie, make wood.
If you do the doors.
No.
Now that sounds like a deal. I'll make your car make 300 horsepower if you do my doors.
I can make it make 300.
Right, that'll do for this video. Cheers, guys. Till next time. Next video should be a pod, hopefully. So yeah,
It will be a
let's see how it goes. Right, like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Bye.